We are on the road to WrestleMania 39, ladies and gentlemen. Put on your seatbelts, go through the fast lane. We've got Elimination Chamber as our first pit stop, and then we're on the way to Hollywood for WrestleMania 39. We already know 2 matches on the show via the Royal Rumble winners and declaring who they will be facing at WrestleMania this year. But what's the rest of the match card going to be? I'm going to predict that for you here today here on SCW. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave in the comments in the comments section. Please like and share the video as well. Just to go through the 2 matches that we know already, we've got Cody Rhodes against Roman Reigns, and of course we've got Rhea Ripley, who's declared she'll go for the SmackDown Women's Championship, going against Charlotte Flair. So let's quickly give my thoughts on those matches, and then we'll go into the rest of the card. Starting then with Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Yes, there is no Sami Zayn in the WrestleMania main events here. Look, things can still change, but we'll go into Sami in a minute. Let's talk about Cody winning the Royal Rumble. It is the right choice. The royal family that goes in Cody's music will be perfect for this storyline. The Rhodes family, we've got, you know, the bloodline of Roman, and of course the generations we've had throughout that family being in wrestling. That collision of royalty, wrestling royalty, will be a beautiful story told, I am sure. The fact that Cody wants to do it for Dusty as well, I think is going to really go for the heartstrings of a lot of wrestling fans. A lot of people are going to want to see Cody do it, but of course Roman is on the journey to becoming 1,000 days as Universal Champion. Of course, he's now been the undisputed champion for nearly a full calendar year, and of course, well, Cody can stop that at WrestleMania, so there's all to play for. This was like a big time main event. Of course, Cody has been elsewhere before. He's come back and proven that he is worthy of being in that main event spot. Very similar to how Drew McIntyre did it when he left the company a few years ago, then coming back and being in the main event of WrestleMania 36. I'm very much looking forward to the story, and I think the match itself is going to be great as well. But we'll go on to Sami Zayn of what he'll be doing in a couple of seconds time, because let's talk about Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. Now for me, this makes a lot of sense to do this because, well, Rhea Ripley has unfinished business with Charlotte. Of course, her first WrestleMania match was supposed to be at the Raymond James Stadium, of course, at WrestleMania 36. That didn't come to fruition thanks to COVID. It was in the Performance Center, and of course Rhea Ripley lost to Charlotte Flair, losing the NXT Women's Championship in the process and kind of getting a little bit lost along the way throughout that year. It took about 12 months for her to find herself back when she was on Raw and winning the Raw Women's Championship in the Raymond James Stadium against Asuka, and she'd only been on the main roster at that point for about 4 weeks as well. And like I say, a little bit of weird booking with the rivalry with Charlotte throughout the summer there as well. It felt like we needed some closure with that, and I think now Rhea Ripley has more than found herself in and amongst Judgment Day. Charlotte Flair right now is a babyface on SmackDown. It's going to be interesting to see the roles and how it's going to be. Will Charlotte have to, you know, can she remain a babyface in this rivalry? Will fans accept that? I think Rhea is going to be the one who's more over here. Rhea, though, is on another level, and as a main event of WrestleMania, to get that redemption really does feel quite nice and quite fun, and I'm quite looking forward to the story the more that I think about it. I did want to see Rhea versus Bianca Belair, but I'm more accepting for it. And another reason I'm accepting for it, because if Rhea Ripley's going to SmackDown, perhaps the Judgment Day are going to SmackDown. And of course, that could bring Dominik Mysterio over to SmackDown. And why would he be interested in going to SmackDown? Well, Rey Mysterio has traded himself over to SmackDown because he did not want to be on the same brand as Dominik anymore. We are going to build to that WrestleMania match of father versus son at last. Rey Mysterio versus Dominik Mysterio. Now, as you can see on my graphic here, I've gone a little bit outside the box. I wouldn't mind if it was a tag team match, to be fair. Look, if you can see the graphic already. But Damian Priest, of course, is going to probably be with Dominik Mysterio. I don't have a placement for him on the rest of the card, so I think the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal could be the right placement for Priest if he has a match otherwise. But for me, Bad Bunny is going to be a special playable character in the WWE 2K23 video game, and for that reason, I think he's going to be involved with WrestleMania. He wasn't involved with the Royal Rumble, and what better place to put him in than this rivalry, backing one of the best luchadors of all time in Rey Mysterio. And of course, he was tag team partners with Damian Priest a couple of years ago at WrestleMania. So if they're kind of both on opposite sides, I think that that's really fun. Like I said, if it was a tag team match, they could always delay the Rey versus Dom match till WrestleMania Backlash. Rey could still not want to hit Dominik Mysterio. Perhaps the WrestleMania moment is where he snaps and finally does it. that could be fun to see, and you'd imagine he'll get a real electric pop when he does so as well. But hey, they'll probably go with the match here. Like I said, perhaps we'll have Bad Bunny in one corner and we'll have Damian Priest in another corner. Just having Bad Bunny there is a special attraction. It'll add attraction around the match. They did it for Rey and Dom at last year's WrestleMania, of course, with Logan Paul and The Miz being the opponents in a tag team match. So to see that happen again, I think could make a lot of sense. And like I say, that also makes perfect sense of why Rhea went over the SmackDown to challenge Charlotte Flair. We now have DOMINIK MYSTERIO doing the same thing. It's perfect long-term storytelling of how we can get Rey and Dom back on the same picture, the same program, going for the biggest show of the year. So I said we'll come back to Sami Zayn. Look, it's not against Roman Reigns, unfortunately. Look, I want it to be against Roman Reigns, but the story is the Usos. The story is a tag team with Kevin Owens. It's been building for the longest time, the friendship of 20 years of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. They've been friends, they've been enemies, they've been fighting forever, but for here, blood is thicker than water when it comes to the bloodline, but when it comes to Sami and KO, they have been like family for all that time, and they're gonna reunite. Now, the story here, how I think it will play out, Sami Zayn, of course, betrayed Roman Reigns. He was beaten out, kicked out of the bloodline. Jey Uso didn't want to be involved with it. He's almost implied he's left the bloodline as well at this point. I think that he will probably be reprimanded by Roman Reigns, I imagine, at this point. Jey Uso probably would be sticking up for Sami Zayn. I think it will build to Roman versus Sami at Elimination Chamber rather than WrestleMania. I do see Sami as a top guy, but it'll be on this show, and I think it's fans that need to remain behind Sami Zayn, keep chanting his name, make sure that WWE know that you want him in that top bracket, and maybe come Money in the Bank, come SummerSlam, maybe even Royal Rumble, WrestleMania next year could be Sami's moment. But at this particular moment with this story, it's always been about Sami and the Usos. You go back to the Tribal Court, Jey Uso saved Sami Zayn at that moment. Sami was with the Usos at that point as well. We've seen the special handshakes with Jimmy Uso as well. It's all played into that narrative, and I think when it comes to Elimination Chamber, it's going to be seen as a ruse all along, that they weren't good friends. Jey Uso doesn't have Sami's back. Jey Uso is the reason that Sami loses to Roman Reigns, and therefore Kevin Owens goes to make the save, realizing, of course, that, well, Sami made the save, or attempted to make the save for him at the Royal Rumble. Maybe a similar beatdown to end off that show that we saw at the Rumble, but see it culminate at WrestleMania with Sami and KO winning the Unified Tag Team Championships. Arguably could feel like a main event of one of the nights, but of course I think the Royal Rumble winners should have those spots. For me, this has to be semi-main event, and I think it will be an absolute banger as well. Speaking of banger after banger after banger, well, let's talk about the Intercontinental Championship. I've gone for a triple threat match. Gunther defending against Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Drew and Sheamus have both been on the same page as of late since War Games, but when they have promos backstage, always hitting one another quite a lot, and it gets a bit more aggressive each and every time. It feels eventually it's going to go one step too far. They were both together defending one another in the Royal Rumble. Gunther eliminated both of them. Gunther and Sheamus were number 1 and 2 in the Rumble as well. Look, it just seems to bring back flashbacks of Clash of the Castle last year. I think these three as a triple threat match feels main event worthy at a WrestleMania, and I think what's key about it as well, Sheamus can finally get that Grand Slam victory, winning the Intercontinental Championship, the title he's not been able to win. And look, the way he should do it, in my opinion, is to beat Drew McIntyre, because Gunther then doesn't take the pinfall. He can move closer towards that main event scene. It feels like he's destined for it. And for me, well, they're not the Banger Bros anymore, are they? But yeah, Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, once they split as a tag team, for me, Sheamus should remain as the babyface. I think Drew McIntyre should go as the heel. It's been a while since we've had heel Drew McIntyre, and that program could continue with the Intercontinental Championship moving forward in towards the early part of the summer, because, well, Sheamus and Drew, they had that big rivalry a couple of years ago during, of course, the Thunderdome era as well. They had one great match on SmackDown, of course, the Donnybrook match last summer. To have a match like that at WrestleMania with Gunther involved as well, you know it's got potential to be match of the weekend. And yeah, I think it just ticks a lot of the boxes. Talking about one mid-card title, let's move on to the other. Austin Theory has been throwing teasers left, right and centre. It's going to happen, in my opinion. Austin Theory versus John Cena for the United States Championship, saying that, well, people can't see him, making all sorts of John Cena references. I think that will continue on the build to WrestleMania. I'm not sure if we'll see Cena on the road to WrestleMania. Well, we don't see him very often, apparently, but we will see him when it comes to Hollywood and the SoFi Stadium, of course. So I think, yeah, John Cena against Austin Theory. I just hope this year Austin Theory, in the big match that he will get, I hope that he picks up the W this time, because I think it would catapult Austin Theory to the next level. He's been booked really, really well since that horrible Money in the Bank cash-in. Let's move things over to the Raw Women's Championship. We've got Bianca Belair versus Asuka is who I think it will be. Of course, we have the Elimination Chamber to determine who will be the challenger for Bianca Belair. Asuka is currently already lined up to be in that match. I think she'll win it. I'm really loving the character change that she sort of had, the tweak of it anyway for the Royal Rumble. She just looks refreshed and different with the face paint, the haircut. She looks like she's ready to go once again, and in my opinion, put her back towards the top end of the card. Whether it's face, heel or tweener, Asuka, she's still a really big deal in the Raw Women's division, and a match against Bianca Belair, they've had some great chemistry with matches in the past. Do it here at WrestleMania, and I genuinely think for the first time in a long time, Bianca could be under threat to lose that Raw Women's Championship. Going with some of the other big marquee matches, Seth freaking Rollins versus Logan Paul. Now, we all watched the Royal Rumble. We watched when we thought Seth and Cody were going to have that moment against each other, and Logan Paul threw out Seth Rollins from the Royal Rumble match. And of course, the camera zoned in on Seth Rollins, the shock on his face. Logan Paul, let's be fair, when he entered the Rumble, he was different to his last performances against Roman Reigns and The Miz. He was full on heel rather than babyface. He lapped up the moment. He is mocking Seth on social media. I think it's a lock this match happens at WrestleMania 39. And let's be fair, both are loud with the wardrobes. Both are very outspoken. Both have got big egos, and I think personally both are in the right role as well. Seth as the babyface, Logan Paul just naturally fits that heel in my opinion. I think this could be a quiet one. It could be a show stealer as well. Logan Paul's had great matches. Seth, arguably one of the best wrestlers of the year last year, and still one of the best wrestlers in the world. I think this will be an awesome encounter when it goes down, and I think Seth here will finally pick up that big win, as he's been putting over a lot of people in the last calendar year. Following that, we've got once, twice, 3 times Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. Looking forward to this one. Honestly, it feels like a WrestleMania dream match in my opinion. Of course, like I say, the trilogy would be complete. Of course, the first match taking place at the Royal Rumble in 2022, where Lashley won the championship from Lesnar. Of course, building up to the second match, which took place at Crown Jewel, Brock Lesnar cost Bobby Lashley the United States Championship. Of course, he would go on to win at Crown Jewel, and of course returning at the Royal Rumble after he was beaten down at the end of that Crown Jewel match by Bobby Lashley. He cost Lashley the United States Championship once again. Lashley had actually spoken about Brock Lesnar earlier in the night as well, and then these two did confront in the Royal Rumble, where Lashley, well, eliminated Brock very quickly once he entered the match. It feels perfect to put these guys in the ring once again. Big meaty men throwing each other around. Need I say more? I think we are the winners. We don't need to worry who wins this match, although if I had to put my neck out this early, I think that Bobby Lashley should be the one, because he is that monster that can carry on doing the Brock things when Brock isn't around. Now, I know the rumor mill is suggesting one thing, but I'm going a different direction. I am going for Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. Some of this is hope, I guess, more than I think it will happen. But look, we've got the steel cage match with Becky Lynch and Bayley next week on Monday Night Raw. Ronda Rousey is not on TV right now. I think it's perfect to just let this go through Elimination Chamber with Becky and Bayley, finish it off, and then we can just see Becky come in and say, put the challenge out to Ronda Rousey. Say she's been ducking her for the last 3 years. It's easy to make this feel like one of the biggest matches with minimal effort, and for me, it's a match that needs to happen before we don't have Ronda Rousey in a WWE ring again. It's a dream match. It was supposed to happen at Survivor Series 2018. That got thrown out the window. Becky wasn't supposed to be in the WrestleMania 35 main event. She made it there, and of course she went on to win it. Since it's the match that I think everybody has wanted to see that's featured Ronda Rousey since. We've not had that since she's returned, so come on, give us that match now. It's very easy to put together, and I think it should happen. But if we don't get Becky Lynch versus Bayley, and we do get my way of Becky versus Ronda, look, I'm going outside the box here. Yes, it's Raw versus SmackDown, but Bayley versus Liv Morgan, because, well, Liv, for me, had a great performance in the Royal Rumble. She was at number 2, so I think she deserves that one-on-one match at Mania. She's in the Elimination Chamber. I think Bayley could find a way into the chamber, and that's how you can nicely put this feud together. For me, a nice singles match here between the two ladies. Perhaps you could catapult them to become a #1 contender for their respective championship after WrestleMania. Yes, it's that time of the video. Let's talk Bray Wyatt, and yes, I've got him going against Uncle Howdy. Alexa Bliss in the corner of Bray Wyatt as well. Bray Wyatt, of course, has kind of wanted to be his own man since coming back to WWE, making mistakes in the past. Uncle Howdy has kind of tried to take him back to his old roots. Perhaps maybe a bit of that mind control there seems to have taken over Bray Wyatt in recent weeks, especially going into the Royal Rumble. And I do wonder if we're going to start building towards a Wyatt 6 going forward. But is the Wyatt 6 necessarily the work of Uncle Howdy, or is it against Uncle Howdy? Like I said, Alexa Bliss has been trying to go off and do her own thing since breaking away from what was going on with Bray Wyatt previously. Now Uncle Howdy has come into the conversation. Alexa thinks she's in control of what's going on, but she doesn't seem to be fully in control, but she seems to be more menacing when she has Uncle Howdy in control. And I think that storyline will continue now after the Royal Rumble, and I think it will link to a point where Alexa and Bray will come together and realize they need to fight off this Uncle Howdy to have a fresh start moving forward. And I think that's how we can start building to maybe certainly their finish of their story, if that's where it could lead to, or into the start of the Wyatt 6 and maybe Uncle Harper. We'll have to wait and see how that'll play out. That's me trying to make sense of the Bray Wyatt story so far. It's a very difficult job to do. I'm hoping at some point it's going to take quite a bit of pace going forward. But yeah, that's my feelings of what I see up to this point. But another match I'm looking forward to seeing, Edge versus Finn Balor. We need to conclude this now. Edge versus the Judgment Day. We know when Edge was kicked out of the group was the night Finn came into the group. They had an I Quit match at the Extreme Rules show last year, which of course Finn Balor won after Edge said I quit purely because of the fact Beth Phoenix was about to suffer a concerto, and she did go on to do so. I do think between now and WrestleMania we will get the mixed tag team match out of the way, so that is already done. So what will be left then is Edge and Finn Balor, and the way to do that for me to conclude it off is none other than Hell in a Cell, of course, because now this match comes in when it means something. It's been quite a few years since we've had it at a WrestleMania. I think this would be a very fitting place to have it this year at WrestleMania. And of course, as we're going through Hell, why not bring back a demon? I may be going a bit too far with this, but look, Finn Balor, he's lost as the Demon before now against Roman Reigns, and if you were to bring the Demon in a Judgment Day format, I think there could be sort of something of in between of what we've seen with Finn in Judgment Day, something in what we've seen with the Demon previously in WWE. Bring it that sort of heel side of it, maybe like a New Japan style of what we've seen with Finn Balor over there doing the Demons. So that sort of thing I think could be really fun. It could really work, and I think it could really add some elements of this match. Maybe we even get Brood Edge, who knows, going into Hell in a Cell, but certainly is a match that I'd be pretty much down for. We've already mentioned 2 celebrity involvements here for WrestleMania with Bad Bunny and Logan Paul. We have to mention Pat McAfee as well. Of course, he fought at last year's WrestleMania, fought at SummerSlam as well. He's now back in WWE, and yes, you can see it. I wanted to face LA Knight. Yeah, because just imagine these two on a microphone in the ring at the same time, going at one another. Both are fantastic talkers. Both are good at getting everybody into what they're saying and believe what they're saying as well. To see these two battle off, I think could be a really underrated rivalry, and I think could be a lot of fun to see happen at WrestleMania. LA Knight would not need the victory either. I think he'd be perfect if he puts Pat over on this occasion as well. So for me, really, I think it just ticks a lot of the boxes. It's a feel-good factor. I think it can do wonders for LA Knight just being sharing the ring again with someone that's got some mainstream appeal and attraction. He's already been in with main eventers with the likes of Bray Wyatt, legends with The Undertaker, so LA Knight, for me, the stock will just keep growing at this point. So yeah, for me, this is a must happen if anyone from WWE is watching. We've mentioned other members of the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa getting a singles match against Matt Riddle. Of course, he was the one to write Matt Riddle off for TV. I think by the time Matt Riddle returns, surely he'll be involved in WrestleMania. This seems like a simple match to put together for me. Kind of a bit of a blood rivalry feud. And Solo Sikoa still hasn't been pinned at the moment in WWE, so there's some stakes on this match as well. So let's see, would Matt Riddle win, or would Solo continue that momentum and picking up the W? Last few matches now, probably the most outside of the box ideas, maybe least likely to happen, but but hey, I like to try and be creative where I can. The Women's Tag Team Championships in Tag Team Turmoil. I've gone with the likes of Damage Control going perhaps against Candice and Mia Yim. Of course, Michin have been teaming up recently. If Nia Jax is back, we can have her with Tamina. We see Dana Brooke and Emma sort of reuniting together at the Rumble. We've got Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi there, and we've got perhaps Sonya Deville and Xia Li, Lacey Evans, Shayna Baszler. We can make some tag teams of this and make a tag team turmoil. Gets everybody on the card. Yes, the matches tend to be fairly quick when they do this, but certainly, like I say, everyone gets a WrestleMania moment. I know the rumors at the moment are Damage Control against Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, but like I say, if I get my wish and we get Ronda versus Becky, this for me seems like a fun alternative, and like I say, everybody gets their payday. Next, I find it very unlikely that on Triple H's first WrestleMania that he doesn't book Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa on that card. So I've gone for a singles match for these two, going back to the NXT days, going back to the previous DIY days, but I've done something a little bit different here. Of course, Johnny seems to still have the way things going on with Dexter in his corner, and of course, Ciampa has had The Miz in his corner, kind of revisiting that rivalry, hopefully putting it to a close, but more for the case that we can actually free Ciampa from The Miz, perhaps maybe get Ciampa with DIY again or something like that, get Ciampa versus The Miz after WrestleMania. I just consider that it being Miz is like, we're in Hollywood, I'm making the stars, I'm already the star, Ciampa is going to be the new star, and have him going against Johnny Wrestling. For me, Johnny Wrestling against Ciampa would be amazing to see at WrestleMania. Would feel like a really surreal moment to see where they've been, where they came from, to where they are. For me, I really hope this match happens. Will it happen? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, certainly something that feels fantasy booking fun at the moment. But hopefully, as I say, it's something that maybe we put together. But like I say, I think both will definitely be on the card in some format. And the last match really is outside of the box. I have gone for the Street Profits breakup. Montez Ford against Angelo Dawkins, because, well, Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal usually takes place on WrestleMania SmackDown these days, so that would have been my last alternative had they've done it. But look, Montez and Angelo have been put in singles matches to try and qualify for the Elimination Chamber. There's been teases last year about potentially this team breaking up. That seemed to have cooled off after a while. Montez got injured as well. I'm just wondering, is it time for them to pull the trigger, because they're interested in both and impressed with both Dawkins and Ford? Are they going to give them the opportunities to try and have breakup moments as single stars? They've done everything in the tag team division. It feels like there's nowhere else for them to go. They've not really a lot of storylines as a team as of late, so maybe they'll just try to see what it's like with them as single stars. Maybe they could be happy for one another if one was to win singles gold, like we've seen with the New Day in the past. I would be totally fine with that. But I do have this idea as well that when the draft comes this next time, these two are going to be split up, and I think they may just, do the match at WrestleMania. We've seen it before, tag team partners going against each other. Of course, the Hardy Boys have done it previously, Matt and Jeff at WrestleMania 25. Of course, although they were family, they were tag team partners in Bret Hart and Owen Hart, kicking off WrestleMania 10, one of the best openers of WrestleMania history. So look, we could see this happen again, and for me, I think it could be a real breakup moment for both guys to get a singles match at WrestleMania to showcase themselves with whatever time they had. I would go for Montez Ford to pick up the victory, just purely because I think Montez at the moment for me screams more potential to get to the main event sooner. Dawkins for me, I think, is mid-card at this particular moment, but for me, I think it'd be a great match. I think it could be great fun. As much as I'm down for the Street Profits to always be a team, I also believe that it could be time for both of these guys to go to the next level. Maybe, like I say, a break could just do them well, and if it doesn't work out, hey, you can always reunite them in 12 months time or something. I wouldn't be against that either. So that's pretty much it. That's my predictions there for the WrestleMania 39 match card. What do you reckon of these matches? Let me know your predicted match card in the comments below. Maybe some of the fantasy booking you'd like to put around it as well. If you like some of these matches as well, let me know what matches you like in particular. If you don't like some of the matches, what matches would you tweak and do differently? Let me know in the comments below right now. But that's all from me anyway. Thank you for watching as always. There's other videos on the channel for you to check out in the meantime as well. And of course, there'll be plenty of content coming on this channel. Like I say, we're on the road to WrestleMania 39. We've got Elimination Chamber coming up as well. Lots of fantasy booking, lots of predictions, lots of Q&As and reviews of all the shows. So it's a great time to be subscribed to SCW, turning on the notifications and being involved when new videos are released, because quite a number of them are live as well. This one is not live, but usually when they are, you get to interact as well and get your voice heard and get a shout out with your input on the video as well. But that's all for me anyway today. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video as well, and I'll see you next time here on youtube.com. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.